Hello and welcome to the Fine Flow podcast. I'm your host, Andrew M. James, and joining me today is a very special guest of mine, strength and mobility coach, Angie. Angie, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much for the invitation, Andrew. I'm fine. I'm fine. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for being on the show. And like I was saying off air, I've been a big fan of your work. I think we're Instagram friends, or we've been Instagram friends now for a couple of years now, maybe 3, 4 years. And I first stumbled upon you while I was randomly doing a Google search for capoeira. And I know that you're big into movement in general. Like you have a lot of movement modalities under your belt, and you're exposed to a lot of different things, capoeira being one of them. But what was your first introduction to the movement? I guess the cool kids are calling it the movement culture now. So what was your first introduction to just movement in general?
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, I remember that we have been in contact like for a
Hmm.
couple of years, maybe 4 years. I think it's more
Yeah, I think
time.
so. Yeah,
Time flies.
maybe. Yeah.
Time flies. Yes, and I'm very, very happy that you got into my blog in that time. I was
Hmm.
writing a blog.
Hmm.
And to answer your question, what was the how it came to actually was through Ido Portal influence.
Hmm.
So the first time I knew about movement was through my partner. He was a close student of Ido.
Hmm.
So before he was popular. He went to Berlin, where Ido was located. I think he's located. Um, and he came back with this new information, and I was training RKC, Russian Kettlebell Challenge. The
Hmm.
kettlebells I was training a lot with this method, and I was doing Ashtanga.
Yeah.
And okay, you are gone.
No, I'm still
um,
here. I'm still here.
I don't see you. So yeah, so he came back with this information, and we started exploring the first movement so that he brought home was handstanding. It was a little bit of locomotion, I remember, and just a little bit of waves, spinal waves somehow. And I was like super interested about that, and I started getting more into it, into his own. Whenever he trained, I trained with him. So I was lucky enough to have the program
Hmm.
and train myself. And I was very, very motivated, inspired by this movement, because that was what. I'm sorry for my English, as English is not my mother tongue.
No, that's
Um,
okay.
so I was very happy to find a training or a way of training that was different from picking up weights, because I felt more that I could express more myself, and my energy could go through this movement. And I am very sensitive, and I move actually with my sensations and emotions and everything. So that for me was super fun.
Hmm.
And I don't have I never had this concept of competition, of like reaching a PR with deadlifting and squatting and all this. Of course I love that also,
Hmm.
but this had something different. And then I found out Ido was his background was also capoeira. So I was very curious about capoeira.
Hmm.
And for 2 years more or less, I don't even know. And finally I got to go to a class. And since then I just fell in love with everything.
Hmm.
What capoeira has a magic. it's it's alive. It's like a spirit or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's it's really energetic. So I really fell in love with it, and I tried to stay, yeah, till now. I tried to
Hmm.
leave it, I left it, then came
Hmm.
back. So
Kept pulling you back in, huh?
absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's such a versatile martial art because there's so much that is involved in it, right? You have like in terms of capoeira, you have like the actual martial art aspect to it, and then you have the instruments that you learn, and then the song, and then the collaborative aspect of the hoda where you're facing off against each other, and it's so there's a lot of intricacies that go into it, but it's such a fun and rewarding martial art, and I'm so drawn to people that are also into it because I feel like for a while it wasn't super popular there, and even where I'm from there's not a whole lot of schools that offer it, right? And
Yeah.
so I grew up watching one of my favorite movies is Only the Strong. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it was a capoeira movie, and it was like my first introduction to capoeira. Like I didn't know what it was at the time, and then I was like, "What is this? This kind of looks like breakdance fighting or something like that, right?"
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm always super impressed, and I appreciate other people that are into the art as well, and whatnot. But for you also like you mentioned, you started off with yoga, and you got into capoeira. I know you do BJJ and everything, and so out of all those disciplines, what are some of the biggest like lessons or takeaways that you've learned from each of those practices?
Um, well, I the reason why I started to explore all these combat sports. I mean, coming from yoga, as you
Mhm.
said, and before yoga, it was meditation. So I started
Mhm.
from stillness to movement. So really, back in Mexico, I'm from Mexico, and back in Mexico, when I was like on my 20s, I did a lot of meditation.
Mhm.
So, and still, I didn't care much about fitness and looking good or anything. I just wanted to feel good. I just wanted to be
Mhm.
to go home, go to my bed, and sleep and in peace. Sleep in peace, wake up in peace. That's all I wanted in my whole life. So that's why I was doing meditation, and then that took me to India and stuff. So from coming from yoga and then going and exploring combat sports, it was because I gave some yoga lessons. I'm sorry. To MMA here in Austria. Is an UFC
Mhm.
MMA um, well-known gym where all the professionals train, and they train everything:
Mhm.
jiu-jitsu, wrestling, Muay Thai, kickboxing, judo. What else? Sometimes they gave capoeira. I never saw it, but sometimes they
Mhm.
gave capoeira. So they invited me to be their yoga teacher.
Mhm.
So it was very interesting, and they invite me also. Hey, we are like stretching here with you, and
Mhm.
come to our training. So I
Mhm.
accepted invitations. First, I went to Muay Thai, and yeah, I couldn't take out this inner aggression.
Mhm.
It's not a bad way. What I mean, this inner water that you have, I couldn't take
Mhm.
it out. And so I start to learn different. I mean, I took from kickboxing a lot of focus, a lot of
Mhm.
observation,
Mhm.
wrestling also, how to take advantage of who I am, or
Mhm.
my if I was little, what could I do with
Mhm.
my little body, and
Mhm.
then yeah, so on. So yeah, I took from each sport. I was not too long in those sports, but the sport
Mhm.
that I was longer was capoeira and jiu-jitsu,
Mhm. Mhm.
and always being a beginner.
Mhm.
I never, I think capoeira is the longest, but I
Mhm.
never that long. Like I never start as a kid like they do.
Mhm. Yeah.
They do. So they are as kid. Yeah, they start so young.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's cool to see also when you would see the little kids and you know that they will grow up and
Yeah.
they be so cool. So Yes, actually, I took a lot of yoga to the
Mhm.
martial arts. I was
Mhm.
observing a lot. I was breathing, the breath work. I was always breathing, and what I have learned from jiu-jitsu in this case was just to be okay with it, to be
Mhm.
okay with stress, to
Mhm.
be okay to danger, to
Mhm.
be okay to trust myself and what is going on,
Mhm.
and uh, be patient.
Mhm.
Also, yeah, more or less this. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and capoeira, it's more about being yourself and finding
Mhm.
yourself in that moment as well.
Mhm.
So, trusting your inner and trusting your techniques as well, what you have learned. It's time to, and I
Mhm.
really love it. That's what I love about combat, or in this case jiu-jitsu and capoeira, is
Mhm.
because, or it could be also, I am so curious. I haven't done this contact improvisation. I don't know if you have done it before.
Mhm.
This contact improvisation comes from dancing, but I want to do also.
Mhm.
So everything
Yeah.
that you don't control, you have another energy always.
Mhm.
You are interacting with another energy. So for me,
Mhm.
it's lesson there, like how you behave and how you react to the other energy. Sometimes the
Mhm.
other energy is aggressive, sometimes it's not. It's friendly.
Mhm.
So the adaptation also. But yeah, I live in Vienna. I moved.
Mhm.
I have a lot of this skill of adapting. So just
Mm.
the adaptation of the movement and the here now. Yeah.
Of course, and I find that with a lot of the mixtures of different disciplines that you're involved in, there has to be a lot of adaptation in there's a lot of adaptation involved in that because like you said, there's a lot of different things that you've pulled or that you've learned from each of those disciplines that are applicable or they kind of merge together, right? Like I know for me, I'm also exploring a lot of different disciplines and I have a lot of different modalities in terms of my experience. I've dabbled in a lot of different martial arts, like so I did Krav Maga for a bit, I did kickboxing as well, Muay Thai, and I grew up as like a dancer. I used to be like a break dancer and like hip hop dancer and stuff like that. And so now that I do like the animal flow stuff, I find that I'm blending a lot of the elements that I've learned from all my other disciplines together to kind of create my own unique sort of animal flow style, if you will. And I'm thankful for that. It sometimes becomes a bit of a challenge in terms of trying to find the marrying between all of them, right? But I guess that's also the beauty and the fun of it in terms of like interweaving everything together. So like with that being said, like how do you like what does your training regiment look like now with all of these disciplines um under your belt and like like how often do you train?
Okay, so yeah, my training programs have changed.
Mhm.
Nowadays, I create my programs, everything to help me with capoeira.
Mm.
So all my trainings is about capoeira. So
Mhm.
besides training capoeira with the
Right.
teacher, with the
Mhm.
group, um, yeah, from summer until now, I just created is just more specific. Before it
Mhm.
was not. It was more about always keeping my strength, my mobility, my health, and but this time, this summer, I decided to change it a little, twist it a little, and be more specific. That means I have the strength training, mobility, and skill training,
Mhm.
plus the sport itself.
Right.
So yeah, so yeah, my trainings look like during the week, like 2 times strength weight training,
Mhm.
2 times mobility, and 2 times skill training. And the capoeira is almost daily.
Oh wow, okay. Wow, wow, wow. And do you Are you still seeing clients, or like is strength coaching like your main profession? Like,
Yeah,
is that what you do full time?
at the moment, yes, I decided
Hmm.
since before the pandemic, I decided to
Yeah.
be the I wanted to focus on this and risk it all, live in a
Hmm.
budget until
Right.
until I'm more successful.
Hmm.
I am old enough, and I don't want to waste more my time. I mean, I never want to
Hmm.
waste my time in
Right.
something. Um, but sometimes I really, because I need in a different country, so I really need
Hmm.
something else to support myself.
Right.
But at the moment, I'm working mostly with PTs, like 101.
Mm. Mhm.
Uh, yeah, I avoid giving classes,
Mhm.
so it's more about coaching.
Right.
And yeah, it's more or less like this.
Mm.
Let's see how it goes. I've been creating an online course since forever. Yeah, but yeah,
And what's
finally
the
I was.
online course about?
It's I don't know. You have one online course. You know how is this
Yeah. Mine took 2 years, so I
universe
know yeah.
universe
And,
of information, and you want to put it everything together and stuff.
yeah.
And then I do have the curriculum. I do have everything. And
Mhm.
then one day I'm like, oh my god, but does this really let me see, and then how, and then I start questioning. But
Mhm.
it's gonna be called like, um how is it called? Human, no, functional human, I think it is. I don't even remember anymore. But
Mhm. Mhm.
it is about the foundations. It is about keeping just your foundation, and you
Mm.
will move
Mhm.
faster.
Right.
It's the first one is about foundations.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah, it's very
Aw
fun, and I'm very excited. And then after that,
awesome.
I'm gonna go more skill. But the
Awesome.
first one has to
Awesome.
be the foundation.
Yeah, well, let me know when that's out, and I'll plug that and,
Yes,
check it out for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Do whatever I
yeah.
can to support.
Before I wanted to talk like, I'm gonna tell Andrew about it, this and excited, and then suddenly
Mhm.
I went and I was like, no, maybe it's not ready yet. So
Mhm.
yeah, I will let you
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will let everyone know.
Yeah. Well, okay, so what I'll say, if I can give some unsolicited advice, is from my own experience, I found myself suffering from paralysis by analysis, in the sense of, like, I was trying to get it perfect, and you don't really know what a person needs until you put your content out there, right? And so you let the audience kind of determine or dictate that for you, and then you kind of learn as you go. So I kept preventing the release date. I'm pushing it back because I was like, ah, it's not ready yet. And that was based on my own interpretation. And so once I did like a soft launch and I got like some people enrolled, they gave me feedback in terms of what they liked, what they didn't like, what they wanted to see more of, what they wanted to see less of. And then based off of that feedback, I was able to kind of fine tune it, and still working on it a little bit. But yeah, just make sure you don't get caught up by paralysis by analysis, where you don't end up putting it out. Like, put it out there, see how the response is, and then work around that feedback.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah,
You're
I
very
will do
welcome. You're
that.
very welcome. So you said you do more one-on-one versus classes, right? Is that a preference? Like, you prefer the one-on-one over doing like group classes right now?
Yes, yeah, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
preference. I find
Okay.
myself I can serve more when
Hmm.
it's um, 101,
Right, right. That makes sense. Yeah, I
or
find
a small group, you know.
right. Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
you can direct your focus more to that individual, or if it's like a small group, because everyone has individual needs. So if it's in a big class setting, it's hard to cater to every single person and give them as much as your time. So yeah, I as much as I enjoy teaching classes, sometimes you need that one-on-one individual focus on that person to
Yeah,
really
yeah.
get them to see the value in what you do. So I guess with that being said, then with you being doing the one-on-one stuff, do you do you find it hard to juggle your coaching services with your own personal training, like with your own training?
No.
No? Yeah? So
No.
you have a good handle on things in terms of micromanaging your schedule?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
what does
Yeah.
your schedule look like in terms of like when you're coaching your
It
your
I
your
have to change what I mean, of course, managing the time. Sometimes there are
Mhm.
cancellations, there are moves that
Yeah.
you have to move, you have to change everything. But I make sure that I will manage what I have planned. So of course it
Mhm.
depends on the clients. But I know, for example, capoeira. I know that I have to keep 3 classes of capoeira training, because it's safe, it's healthy, healthy
Mhm.
for me, for them, for everyone.
Mhm.
So I work around, I find it, and I am confident that it will work around. So besides that, because the classes are not depending on me, and then the other timing I can manage, I can adapt, I can change, and everything. So I've been training. If I cannot train with weights, I will do my mobility and so on. So for me,
Mm.
yeah, it
Okay.
works. Mm.
Yeah. That's awesome. I like that. You said something
I'm
earlier
flowing.
about how what's that? Sorry?
I'm flowing.
Yeah, you're flowing. Yeah, it's all about flow, right? So
Exactly.
um yeah, you said something earlier about how you don't really care much about aesthetics, so like looking good. It's more so about how you feel and like more so how you move, right? Um But, like, you know how, like, in on Instagram, we often see a lot of people highlighting their aesthetics and, not to say that there's anything wrong with appreciating
Yeah,
how
sure,
good you
sure,
look
sure.
and everything like that, that is your prerogative, whatever floats your boat kinda thing. But, to you, what do you feel is the importance around feeling good and moving well? Why should somebody care about that more so over aesthetics, if you will? In your own opinion.
At this point, I let them be free.
Mm,
Um, Everybody has their own time.
mhm,
Everybody will find out sooner or later what
mhm,
is good for them.
mhm,
So if it's someone is taking aesthetics important because they depend on that or whatever, it's their choice.
mhm. Okay.
So I sometimes I get frustrated with some some stuff going on. I see and
Mhm,
I look, but I try to say, hey, it's not my choice, and whatever
mhm,
I can, what it's on my hands is
mhm,
what I can share. So
mhm,
I have to keep sharing, and if
mhm,
someone ears can hear
mhm,
it,
mhm,
has eyes can see it. If not,
mhm.
not later on.
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
not. I'm not 20, so when I was 20, I could see 1,000 times, but I couldn't understand
Mhm. Yeah,
the,
no,
the
I
or the knowledge, or I would say
mhm,
wisdom.
mhm,
Um, yeah, I see my trainees. They are in their 20s, so I can
mhm,
see that they are into aesthetics. They want to look
mhm,
pretty. They will like,
mhm,
or handsome or
mhm,
strong.
mhm.
Uh, because it's the age where when you find your partner or you want to be attracted to the other
Yeah.
being. So it's normal. So I don't
Mhm,
fight for that. I mean, but I am very
mhm,
clear. I say, hey, we're training for health, for
mhm,
strength, for you,
mhm,
for your skill to be better in your
mhm,
skill, where it is.
mhm,
So, and they make it, and they find it cool. They find it fun and cool and
mhm,
everything. And they
mhm,
find out they will be like more popular if they
mhm.
are cool making their skill.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I agree with that, and I think you hit a good point, and I think there's a lot of carryover from working on your skill development or your ability to move well. I find that you know, I understand the appeal of aesthetics, because it's a confidence booster when you can look in the mirror and you can like feel good about yourself by based off of how you look. Um, and especially when you're young and you're in your 20s and you're trying to find a potential mate or whatever, you want to look as appealing as possible. And there's that aesthetic appeal to it in that regard. But I also think, for me, as I've shifted to, you know more skill work and mobility work, especially, it's it's become a little bit more of a priority for me now in terms of like being able to move well and whatnot. And that's kind of what I promote. It might not be the sexiest thing, like mobility work, because I see you doing the mobility stuff too. I think you do like a lot of the FRC stuff as well. And it may not look the most appealing in terms of like Instagram, what's considered appealing on Instagram or whatever, but like it makes for sexy movement. You know what I mean? Like, because the more range you have, the better of a mover you are, right? And so that has a lot of positive attributes associated with it too. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right though. It's a person's choice, it's their preference, and you kind of work from there, I guess.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
So, in terms of movement, then, since movement and mobility are your general focus, and of course the disciplines that you're involved in, what is like your movement goal? Like, what are you striving for now, and like, what are you working towards?
My personal training, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, at the moment, I've been working a lot on the high bridge.
Hybrids,
So
okay, yeah.
yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
the back then for me, I never. I don't know if you know my background. I didn't have any sports background before the
Mm-hmm.
30s. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have. Uh, in my city and my school, I never had the sport class. The sport class was like doing some softball with the teacher and just hiding from from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
It was so hot. So actually, I didn't have any foundations. I didn't know anything about sport or anything. So I I don't have this gymnastic background that Americans and Europeans have. So I was not able to do a normal bridge. I thought, okay, I need it because I am so in love with capoeira at the moment that I really want to enjoy it. So I said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there are so many acrobatic things that I learn because it's the basic, it's the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and I would do it. So I have chosen first the backbend, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been working since this. I've been working normal in a normal capoeira class, the backbending, but in the capoeira way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm very happy and motivated, and I
Mm-hmm.
just take it fun, and I am
Mm-hmm.
very happy with what I have accomplished in a small
Mm-hmm.
period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to actually do my rotational bridge, which
Mm.
is with one hand and the other in the capoeira
Mm-hmm.
way.
Right,
So
right.
I can do it in the low bridge, which is in the floor,
Mhm. Mhm.
but I never do or go up to a bridge. So
Right.
and now I can do it. Now I can do it. Not so
Mhm.
long, and I also wanted to be my shoulders over my wrist,
Mhm.
and I was very close. I have closed shoulders and T spine,
Mhm.
so, and of course weak wrist.
Wrist? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my first one, and I'm working on that. And as soon
Mhm.
as I reach my rotational
Mhm.
reach, then I will move on to another skill. But before that, I did a lot of kettle heels. So
Mhm.
balancing, it was
Mhm.
here for me to do it. I left it
Mhm.
aside, and
Mhm.
now I'm working a lot on the bridge. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. And your ability, like, so in terms of your training protocol with that, did you did you use a lot of the FRC stuff to get you there, or was it just a matter of drilling the skill over and over again until your body eventually adapted?
All together. I did
All
my own.
together, okay. Yeah.
Of course, I use the FRC. Yeah,
Mhm.
coaches have to have
Mhm.
coaches, and then you
Absolutely,
choose
yeah.
which coach you want
Mhm.
to trust and guide and
Mhm.
stuff. So I
Mhm.
choose one and I said, hey, let's see, I want to work on this, and I want to know. You can see what I cannot see, because
Mhm.
sometimes
Yeah.
you just can see what you cannot see. So I am allowed,
Mhm.
tell me what I cannot see.
Mhm.
So yeah, and yeah, also is the skills, the drilling, of course, of
Mhm.
the capoeira way. When it's
Mhm.
sometimes the class is about bridges, sometimes about kicks,
Mhm.
about everything, and you are like, whoa,
Mhm.
I need
Yeah.
all. Um, but all of them come together somehow.
Mhm. Yeah.
Excited, and of course, yeah, it's all together. I
Mm.
have chosen what to do and when and how. So
Right, right, right. That kind of brings me into another question. In terms of like mobility, because sometimes you often hear people saying, "Oh, like get the splits." Like you'll see videos of people promoting, "Oh, get the splits in like 7 days," or like like 2 weeks or something like that, right? And it's kind of like, well, really? Like, I don't know if the body actually really works that way. So, like, for you, having what you've learned from the FRC stuff, for those watching or listening, FRC stands for Functional Range Conditioning. It's a mobility system. Very good program for those who are interested in learning more about how the body works in terms of training joint mobility. But for you, what do you find people have the most misconceptions about regarding mobility?
I have someone, a potential client. He
Mhm.
he was he got in contact with me because he wanted to have the splits. He
Mhm.
didn't care what kind of split, a middle split or a
Mhm.
front split, but he wanted a
Mhm.
split. He had
Mhm.
met with his father, and he needed to get that as soon as
Mhm.
possible.
Right.
so so he was asking me all the time, but when do I get it? Like,
Mhm.
I'm pay you private and everything, but when do I get it? And I said,
Mm.
hey, it depends of everything,
Yeah.
of the programming. It depends of
Mhm.
you. It depends of how
Mhm.
your body also reacts, and your mind reacts as
Yeah.
well. So
Mhm.
everything together, and we will have to work together. And
Mhm.
I cannot say, I cannot promise anything. And probably he
Mhm.
was, oh, why she doesn't tell me when?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. Like a lot of people, they love absolutes. They want to hear a finite, like definite like time frame for when they're going to achieve something, and you hit the nail on the head in terms of like it really depends. I know a lot of people hate that answer, but like everybody's body is different and they respond different. And the thing with mobility is like it takes a long time for the nervous system to adapt. And like even if you make changes, like what I'm learning now, because I'm I've actually, you know, started transitioning or shifting my training to more mobility focused work to enhance my movement practice. But um what I find is the nervous system is very sensitive to change, but the change is not long lasting until you continue to repeat the process over and over again until you hit that adaptation. And for some, it can take 6 months, it can take a year, it can take 2 years. Like it really depends on the individual and like you said, the frequency of the client. Like if they're only training once a week and they're trying to get their splits in like 2 weeks, then that's not enough frequency, right? You know what I mean? So like they're kidding themselves if they think they're gonna get a split that fast. So yeah, it really does take a lot of time and commitment too, right? Because like we were saying, like I was saying, it was like with mobility, it's not sexy work. It's like, you're there, you're sitting in a stretch, you're doing active work, but it's like, you know what I mean? The changes are so micro, they're so small, and sometimes you revert back to it's like almost like you take a couple steps forward and then a few steps back, And that's kind of how mobility works. It's like some days are really good and you get really deep into your stretching, and then some days are like not that great, right? And so it can be discouraging.
Exactly, exactly.
Mm.
Sometimes I could push to my bridge, some days I couldn't. So
Yeah.
some days I was completely open, and
Hmm.
there were 2 days or during the whole training that I couldn't even press. So, but
Hmm.
I needed assistance, and that's it. So you
Hmm.
have to be okay with it because you trust the progress and you know
Hmm.
that it will work at the long time. So, yes, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And do you find that are you driven more by motivation, or is it discipline that keeps you going?
Discipline, of course,
Discipline,
discipline.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
how does that show up in your life in terms of like discipline? Like, is it based off of your structure, like your training protocols? Like, because I know a lot of people struggle with motivation versus discipline kind of thing.
um you I think you just need to know what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to know your priority, what you want. So if you want, let's see, if I want the hybrid, what am I willing to do to get it, and
Mm-hmm.
how I'm going to work all around to get it. So yes, it's you create your life, or you create everything around what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I get it. So yeah. And
Interesting. Okay.
motivation, it's not about I just believe that I can make it, and of course there will be a lot of times that you
Mm-hmm.
will be feeling, and if you are a female, every month you will feel weird. so
Yeah.
you will doubt yourself to the bones, you will doubt everything, but it
Mm-hmm.
will come back. I mean, there is something there that that if you trust the structure and the method, the system that you created,
Mm-hmm.
at the end that it will work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, discipline, and yeah, but to be disciplined is like you really have to be clear of what you want. If you don't know, and you have to choose, we want a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So what do you want first? And
Mm.
then you get that one, and then what do you want second, and what do you want
Mm-hmm.
third? And yeah, and then life goes on.
Yeah. That's
Life
really good
happens.
advice. Yeah. Yeah, focusing on just one thing at a time. I suffered from being way too overwhelmed with a lot of skills that I was trying to learn all at once. Like I wanted to get front lever, back lever, one arm handstand, the QDRs. Like I had all of these things in in my training protocol that I was trying to like focus on, and I was burnt out because I can't focus on all of these things all at once because they all have such high demand in terms of what's required for the prerequisites for these moves. So I had to kind of like swallow my pride, let go of my ego, and be like, okay, just pick one thing to focus on, one or two things at most to focus on, and then once you unlock that skill, then you can move on to the other stuff, right? So yeah, very
Yes,
very good advice. Yeah.
and you have
Speak.
to know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go on. Yeah.
you have to know a little bit. I mean, yourself. What are you doing that for? Like, is
Mm-hmm.
it? Of course, it's if you are in love with all these skills and you are like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
god, they are so fun, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it. Have this fun, it's fine. But
Mm-hmm.
when the mind comes and there is like some competition, for example, I am a beginner and
Mm-hmm.
I have to swallow that I am a beginner of the
Mm-hmm.
capoeira or the J,
Mm-hmm.
and and then I decide. So I stopped the BJJ because I got hurt here and there, and I said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, the reason why I'm doing the BJJ is because
Mm-hmm.
I have fun. I don't have fun being someone pressing me, but
Yeah.
I want to learn about it.
Mm-hmm.
There are lessons here, and I want to know how it feels if I am in this stressful situation.
Mm-hmm.
I am alone and this and that. So I want
Mm-hmm.
to, for my own, yeah, safety. And that
Right.
was the reason. But capoeira is more about everything. It's about
Mhm,
my life and how I see and how
mhm,
I feel, and the music, the learning everything. So
Mm.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah, yeah,
lost.
no, that, yeah. No, no, you definitely hit the nail on the head. I think you're absolutely right in that you need to know what you want and figure all of that stuff out, because that's going to be your driving force in terms of how you get there, right?
Yeah.
It actually reminds me of a post that that you actually made a while back, where you said you have to know where you're going in order to get there. That was one of your posts. So it
Mm.
kind of just highlights that exactly. Like it's kind of like your skills are kind of like your GPS. It's your direct it's your guiding force for where you're trying to go. And if you don't put something into your GPS, it's never going to tell you where or how to get there, right? So you need to know exactly where you're going. You need to know the location, the address, right? Your address is equivalent to your goal. So it definitely makes sense. And I think some people kind
And
of miss the mark on that.
yeah, and the GPS will
Yeah.
show you different ways. Let's have
Mhm.
traffic. There is this
Mhm.
way you can turn. You can go here and there, and you decide what to do with it. So,
Absolutely.
and it depends
Yeah.
on how you feel. So you really
Mhm.
have to be aware on how you feel. So today
Mhm.
I'm feeling relaxed. I can take it the longer way. It's fine.
Mhm.
Or no, I have no time. I am not in the mood. I am hungry. Blah blah blah. So I want to get faster. So you choose. And then that's how you go.
Exactly. Yeah. And the movement works the same way. Yes, skill work, all
Exactly.
that. Yeah. Yeah. So you
What
mentioned
I
something in regard. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I wanted to say about me being, I mean, I went with all this information, those
Mhm.
speaking, but what I wanted to say is that, for example, if you are, I am a beginner of capoeira, so
Mhm.
when I am there and I start to compare my skills with others, I cannot compare my skills with a person that has been doing capoeira for 20 and 30 years. So so you really have to be aware of your own, trust and love your own value. I mean, your
Mhm.
value is not in what you do, your value is what you are. And
Absolutely.
be able to express whatever you want in that moment. If you want to express more, or if you were able to express more, perfect. If not, also perfect. So that's what I wanted
Mhm.
to say.
Absolutely. I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because that was like a good segue into my other question regarding comparison, especially specifically on social media. Like um we all know that as social media users, especially like things like Instagram, where you're posting things with the small intent of seeking validation sometimes. Like sometimes that's how it comes off, right? With that being said, like, that can sometimes be a catalyst for suffering, because we're trying to look for validation externally. We're trying to get likes, and like some people get really caught up in the number of followers and the number of views or the number of likes that they receive. For you, do you ever get into that frame of mind where like you find yourself suffering from comparison or self-limiting beliefs, or things based off of things that you see on Instagram? And if so, how do you kind of overcome a lot of those hurdles in terms of the internal dialogue that you're faced with regarding social media?
Actually, there are two things. One, I don't care about what they post on the social, on the
Yeah.
Instagram. See
Yeah.
it, and okay, cool, and that's it. I mean,
Hmm.
what I care about is what I post and who is watching my post, and who is, if there are my colleagues, for example, and I'm like, my God, my colleague will think this and that, and then I'm like, okay, I'm not talking. I mean, what I'm creating is not for my colleague. I am creating this for help people that do not
Hmm.
know about this information.
Right.
So I always have to tell myself, hey, you're not speaking with to your friends, and you're not speaking with like with you, with Andrew. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't have to care about what you think. I want,
Hmm.
because I know that you will know, but the
Hmm.
person that doesn't know and needs help or needs this information is what I care about.
Hmm.
And I've been learning that during the days. I've been learning that. So yeah, and if something bothers me, I just block it. I block people. I block stories.
Mhm.
I whatever is gonna be healthy for me, you
Mhm.
know. So that's what I do.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't go too much. If I go to social media, to be honest, I go in and look for pets like funny dogs and no
Mhm.
cats, dogs, everything about dogs. What is it?
Mhm.
Um, that's where I spend my time, not checking. I'm not checking out the other people, like other
Mhm.
mobility coach. I'm not checking them out. I mean,
Mhm.
unless I'm seeing something, I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool, or this is okay, and
Mhm.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that. You make a really good point too. I think we spend too much time and energy on other people's lives and less on our own, or less on things that like brighten our spirits and make us feel good. Like, I'm similar to you in the sense of like, there's a there's a Facebook page called The Dodo, and it's basically it's a page dedicated to people who go out and they rescue animals, like stray animals or animals that have been abused. And it starts off with these stories. They start off really like sad and depressing. Like you see some of these animals and they're just in the worst shape
yeah,
ever. And then these like beautiful humans, they just show up and they take these animals in and they build trust with the animals, and then you see like maybe 6 months later the animal, like the dog maybe like who was abused or like abandoned, is like healthy and strong, running around super happy and everything like that. And those are the things I actually get like choked up about them, like when I watch them and I'm like, oh wow, that's so beautiful. And like it makes me feel good, it brightens up my day afterwards, right? And so I've started like looking for more of those things that kind of make me feel happy and uplifted, as opposed to like, hey, what are
exactly.
some of my competitors like doing right now? And like, because social media is often as a facade. It's like a lot of the stuff is like fake, or like people are putting up a front to appeal to the masses and present themselves in a particular way. And to compare yourself to something that's potentially not true is unfair to your soul, right? Because it doesn't do anything but just tear you down, right? So
And
yeah,
that is a
I
practice. It's not something
mhm,
what we're talking about is
mhm,
something that we normally we are not educated to do. So it's
mhm,
like it's a daily practice what we have to do to
mhm,
be in our own and see, and do not go with this social media or
mhm,
what the media says or what the newspaper says or my peer group says or my school says.
mhm.
So yeah, it's a daily practice what we have to do just to be with our own and continue doing it. But yeah, it's not easy for, I mean, for the people that might be hearing us or watching us. They will say, "Ha, yeah, they are saying that, yeah, now, but tomorrow." Yeah, well, I tell you, it's a daily practice. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, it definitely is a daily practice, something that you have to practice religiously, like to get good at. Like I always say, happiness is a skill that needs daily practice, right?
yeah.
Um, yeah. Just to shift gears a little bit, while we're on the topic of social media, you made another post a while back that was really interesting. And if you wouldn't mind touching up on it a little bit more, um, it was something to the effect of like you in the past getting scrutiny for how you carry yourself as a woman, and often people telling you that you weren't ladylike and in that regard and stuff like that. Like, um to
Yeah.
you now, like, and I think this is really important for especially young women to hear now, like, how do you perceive yourself, or what does it mean to you to be a lady based off of your own interpretation, versus what people had labeled you as not being ladylike?
What it comes to my mind, I mean, when you
Mhm.
were asking, I was thinking, well, I don't care much about that word,
Mhm.
but I do not have family. I don't have kids or anything, so I
Mhm.
can care less. uh, because I have no responsibility for others.
Mhm.
But what it comes to my mind, and I said, okay, I'm going to answer the question. So it came to my mind to be respectful. So yeah,
Mhm.
uh, I'm thinking, how can I answer this without going too long?
No,
You know what?
hey, by all means. I mean, it was a very interesting article or interesting post that you made, and I found that to be very fascinating because I find that a lot of women struggle with this with their identity in terms, and I'm only speaking it from an outside perspective on account of
Yeah,
I'm not a woman, right? But I
yeah.
find that just from my some of my female friends and how they struggle with certain things of like
Do you
there's certain
have it there?
expectations. What's that? Sorry.
Do you have the post there? What I have written?
Um, I can pull it up. I don't have it on hand right
Yeah,
now. I probably should have.
I was talking about being a woman and
Mhm.
about being a female, and I was talking about how my personal how I grew up,
Mhm.
and I grew up in a Catholic society in a Catholic
Mhm.
family.
Mhm.
So just by being a woman or by being a human being, just
Mhm.
we are human beings and we are sexual beings because we create, right? We create
Right.
life. So by putting some words and manipulating people or woman as when you start growing up and you are a kid and then you are a teenager and then you evolve, and there are some ideas of what should be and how if you do this. I talk, for example, I remember the post, and I talk, for example, when I was a kid, my mother say, hey, close your, when I was sitting, I'm little, so my legs are still here in Austria, that is tall, still are like not touching the floor. So
Yeah.
for me, it was easy, like, oh my God, what do I do with my legs? And my mom say, hey, close your legs and close your legs. Just by saying that, close your legs, it goes unconscious. You don't believe it, but it goes unconscious. Like, okay, why do you have to? What is it? Like,
Mhm.
what is the problem with this? So, and then you start creating an idea what should be or what should be not, or the value of yourself. I mentioned also the value.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
this is the post here.
Mhm. So I am lucky enough. For one point, my mother and my father, they are very Catholic. So I grew up in a
Mhm.
Catholic school, and I had also Catholic studies. I was in a school of Catholic nuns.
Mhm.
So just by putting this sexuality, the idea of sexuality was, it just gave some trauma, and I wanted to speak about it. I wanted to put it
Mhm.
there. I felt like I should speak out from my heart. I always try to speak
Mhm.
out from my heart,
Mhm.
and that's what I did. That's what I did. Yeah. I
Yeah.
see. I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, it was a really great post, and I found that it was something that was going to be very empowering for women to hear, especially because I just in talking to some of my female friends, it's they sometimes are feel the pressure and the scrutiny from parents or other people externally to conduct themselves a certain way or to be at a certain place in their life based off of old way of thinking or old standards, like you have to be married and you have to
Happy
do
for-
this and that and all that stuff. Yeah, and like, my girlfriend, she kind of had a little bit a taste of that as well, in regards to some of the pressures and that was put on from her parents for her to be a certain way. And now she, and for a lot large majority of her life, she gave in to that pressure, and eventually it kind of made her depressed to the point where she then made that transition. She's like, no, forget that. I'm going to be my own woman. I'm going to be my own lady. I'm going to redefine what it means to be a lady. And now she's completely transformed. She's a completely different person, and living her best life. And, I think more women need to stand for that. And like, so people like you that are spreading that kind of message of like honesty and being transparent, I think is really important. And I just respected the post overall, and what the message was trying to say, or what it was saying essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm holding myself, I'm holding myself because I know if I start speaking, I will
Hmm.
speak a lot and long, long,
Hmm.
long. But I really hold
Hmm.
myself. But I want to say this
Hmm.
that my wisdom requires time and
Hmm.
experience and exploration, and everybody, we all have to go through these experiences, challenges, opportunities to grow. Um, and But it depends on everyone. I would just say that I am only child, so
Hmm.
my parents care about a lot about me, but I am lucky enough that my parents care more about me being happy
Hmm.
and being and healthy,
Hmm.
that um, society, how do you call it? Let me see. I don't find the English word, but yeah, standards or etiquettes,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
whatever society wants people to be. So that's why they allowed me to explore, and allowed me and accept me. Even I know it has been hard for them,
Hmm.
but they show me love every time I make a decision that it doesn't go with their small town society way of thinking.
Hmm.
And they show me love and they support me for every step I do and I take, also my mistakes.
Hmm.
So yeah, but you have to at some point, if you are too pressed to press, you will rebel. And
Right.
then if there is nothing, then you just rebel against whatever it is. And this rebel, if you are rebel, you don't even see what is good for you. I have rebelled myself. I think I wrote it there. I have rebelled myself, and I didn't
Hmm.
think, and I was just against it, against what they were, against this pressure that I had. So
Hmm.
I rebelled myself, but it was not good for me either. This kind of
Hmm.
rebel,
Yeah.
being this kind of rebel. So I found out that it was not good for me, but it took time to realize that. So then
Right.
to come and become what I am now.
Hmm.
It's about following your inner voice,
Hmm.
always there. If you really go and close your eyes and just follow your inner voice, there is an inner voice. We all have it.
Hmm.
So yeah, just following that, yeah, has given me more answers, and I'm sure that everybody will have their own answers by
Hmm.
following like this and questioning and observing and exploring.
Hmm.
Yeah, my
Of
mom is
course.
like, they gave me everything, and I'm very grateful. Studies, material things, and they keep giving me. Still, I'm their child,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
yeah, he almost at 45. So can you
Yeah.
imagine?
Hmm.
So Yeah, yeah, and we have to grow. We have to
Mm-hmm.
grow and
Oh,
accept them, but we have to grow and
mm-hmm.
see it. And, yeah, look for our own.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah.
That's really great advice. Very great advice. Awesome. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Angie, we're coming up on time shortly, so I want to be respectable of yours. But there is one question, one final question I want to ask you that I ask everybody that comes on the show, and we'll definitely get you on again because there's quite a few more questions that I had, but we'll that'll give us another reason to reconnect and to do another episode. But my
Sure.
question for you now is. We've all kind of experienced flow in our lives, be that in a physical side or just in terms of our life in general. And for you, what does flow mean to you, and how does it show up in your life?
Hmm. I think flow is life.
Hmm.
Mm, comes and goes around, and yeah, like air. I find it like air is going around, and but when it's directed, it's more powerful. So
Mm.
yeah. And what was the question? How I find flow in my life?
Yeah. How does it show up in your life, or how do you utilize it in your life?
Very simple. Uh, every morning we all have certain obstacles. Something, maybe you wake up late, maybe your favorite coffee you don't have any more in the morning, and you didn't have enough, and like some during the day we do have frustrations, or how do you say, opportunity of frustrations, and there are opportunities where you can get frustrated, and what when you decide not to get frustrated, and when you decide
Hmm.
not to get frustrated, that's flow for me.
Hmm.
So I flow with the I try to flow with life, and every day, for me, that's flow in my life, just not getting caught in the frustrations. And believe me, we all have frustrations every time,
Hmm.
all the time, every time. So, yeah, just adapting, transforming, connecting. For me, that's more or less what is flow in life, not
Hmm.
stuck in something. I'm pretty stubborn.
Hmm.
my my friends will tell you, partners and family will tell you I'm pretty stubborn.
Hmm.
So for me, it's something that I'm learning every
Hmm.
day to
Hmm.
flow, to go. And so yeah, it's a lesson for me to flow in everything. So
Hmm.
yeah, so what do I do to do that? What
Hmm.
I do is meditate in the morning.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
I just telling you what how I allow myself to flow is that every morning
mhm,
I meditate, I open my eyes, I see the this summer I see the sun in my eyes and everything. So I start with
mhm,
a good feeling,
mhm,
and I do also affirmations. It's
mhm,
kind of, yeah, it's a method with affirmation stuff, so I
mhm,
can be in my own and practice my own, and that's how I help myself
mhm.
to flow.
I like
Otherwise,
that.
otherwise, it's I'm choosing me and I'm choosing what I want. So
Mhm. Amazing. Awesome.
yeah, yeah. So that's the only way I can flow. If I don't do that, I
Mhm.
start having frustrations. I start depressions. I start
Mhm,
having fights. I start having disappointment. Yes, disappointments.
mhm.
Yeah. So
And it really speaks to the power of meditation because I myself, like, if I find that if I don't devote at least 10 minutes to myself where I'm just in stillness and meditating and, giving myself self positive affirmations, it really does impact the rest of my day. And I find that I'm a lot more irritable. I'm quick to be way more depressed. So it's all about setting yourself up for a good day or prepping yourself. We can't always have sunshines and rainbows every single day, but at least we can be prepared for when, from the days get a little bit gloomy out. So meditation is super powerful for that and highly effective and recommended. So yeah.
And then there is movement meditation as well. So you can put
Yeah.
on music and you can
Mm-hmm.
move around your favorite tunes,
Mm-hmm.
and there you go. You change
Yeah.
the energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think people have this misconception where meditation has to be you sitting in lotus pose and like, all closing your eyes and being all zenned out and stuff. But like you said, it can be a form of movement meditation where you're just putting on music and just grooving, doing whatever. You don't even have to do yoga, it can just be dancing. And that could be your form of meditation or going for a walk.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, just something that quiets your mind and brings you a little bit of sense of peace, calm, and tranquility. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
But I would like to add that
Mhm,
sometimes we also need a, if we want to change or you want to be powerful, then we have to achieve
mhm,
somehow. So
mhm,
running doesn't help at the
mhm,
end. If you really
mhm,
want something, running
mhm,
won't help. It's just a
mhm,
detoxing, mind detoxing, okay, but you will use it.
mhm,
But if you put more in your
mhm.
mind, behaviors more that you are taking out, then it's like getting gaining weight. If you eat
Yeah.
more,
Mhm,
it's like, uh, you can run a lot, but yeah, you need
mhm.
to balance that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what flow is. It's a balancing act of tension and relaxation, right? We need a little bit of tension to challenge and stimulate our mind and our body. Otherwise, we don't grow. But we also need that form of relaxation that to balance it out. It's the yin and yang principle, right? That
Yeah,
yin versus yang energy. So there has to be a marrying of the two in order for you to establish that balance in life.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
beautiful, and beautiful when it happens in the training room.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And you feel it, and you feel good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Angie, I want to thank you so much for joining me on my podcast and offering up your time. And as always, I'm a big fan. I love what you're doing. I've
Thank you.
been loving what you've been doing and your work ethic and your mentality and your approach to life and your life philosophy and everything that is involved in your movement practice. I am a fan, and I will continue to support all your endeavors. And when your online program is ready, let me know and I will plug that.
Yes, of course, of
But
course.
before we
Yes, yeah.
wrap, the floor is yours. You're more than welcome to promote anything that you want. Of course, when this episode comes out, I will have all of Angie's handles in the description, so you can go ahead and follow her. You can follow her right now. She'll let you know Angie in Motion, her Instagram handle, her website. So the floor is yours. Plug it, plug away, and let us know what you are currently working on and where people can find you and reach out and connect with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mhm, mhm.
Thank you, Adriel.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Is there anything you're working on? Anything you want to give a shout out to or plug, or you want to give your Instagram handle?
No, no, everything is fine. Thank you so much.
Everything. All right.
I enjoy the chat like always, and I always
Mhm.
keep chatting. I want to keep chatting with you like
Of course.
forever.
For
Yes,
sure. For sure. For sure. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you all for watching or listening wherever you're at home. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. And thank you, Angie, for being my wonderful guest for today. And we'll catch up soon. All right.